The sterile hum of Medical Base 7 aboard the Galactic Alliance starship Horizon was a familiar irritation to Lieutenant Commander Kyle Wilson. At 34, his 62 frame was a testament to years of rigorous combat training, his steel-gray eyes carrying the weight of 3 interstellar conflicts. Scars crisscrossed his knuckles, and faint crow's feet framed his gaze, hinting at battles fought and survived. He'd been in the middle of a flawless squad training session when a simulation drone malfunctioned, sending a jagged shard of metal into his forearm. It was a minor wound, barely bleeding, but protocol demanded a visit to the med bay. "For the last time, I just need antiseptic and a bandage," Kyle growled, his deep voice echoing authority as he sat on the examination table, his sweat-soaked training shirt clinging to his muscular torso. He ran a hand through his short, cropped brown hair, glancing at the clock. A tactical briefing with Admiral Harrington was in 40 minutes, and the Admiral wasn't known for patience. The young medical technician engrossed in his datapad didn't look up. "Protocol requires all injuries be documented and treated, sir. Dr. Niara will see you shortly." Kyle sighed, shifting uncomfortably on the table. The cut wasn't even oozing anymore, but the Alliance's obsession with procedure was unrelenting. The door hissed open, and Kyle's irritation faltered. Instead of Dr. Niara, the grizzled centurion who'd patched him up countless times, a striking alien woman entered. Her skin was a vibrant purple, shimmering faintly under the med bay's lights, and her silver-white hair flowed like liquid moonlight. Her large, luminous turquoise eyes widened slightly as they met his, flecks of gold catching the light. "Lieutenant Commander Wilson," she said, her voice melodic, the universal translator struggling to capture its harmonic undertones. "I'm ZA, medical research specialist. Dr. Niara's in emergency surgery, so I'll be treating you today." Kyle straightened, suddenly hyper-aware of his disheveled state. "You're not Niara," he said, his tone gruffer than intended. Her full lips curved into a smile, revealing a hint of mischief, astute observation. She glided closer, her form-fitting dark uniform bearing the Alliance Medical Corps insignia, though its plunging neckline seemed to push regulation boundaries. "Let's take a look at that arm." Her slender fingers, cool against his skin, examined the cut with a gentleness that surprised him. Her touch carried a faint scent of exotic spices, alien yet oddly comforting. "This is minor," she said, reaching for a medical scanner. "But since you're here." Her eyes flicked up, turquoise depths sparkling with something playful. "Would you consider volunteering for a clinical trial? We've developed a regenerative serum that could heal this in minutes." Kyle raised an eyebrow, checking the time again. "Is it approved?" "Preliminary trials are complete," Za replied, already preparing a hypospray. "It's safe, a standard regenerative formula with enhanced cellular acceleration." If it meant getting to the briefing faster, Kyle was game. "Fine, do it." Her smile widened as she selected a vial from a cooling unit. "Excellent, this won't hurt." The hypospray hissed against his arm, a cool sensation spreading from the injection site. Za stepped back, watching him intently. "How do you feel?" she asked, her voice tightening slightly. "Fine," Kyle said, then paused. A warmth was spreading through his body, pooling in his core and radiating downward. His eyes widened as he realized what was happening. What the hell? Za's turquoise eyes grew enormous as she stared at the medical sheet draped over his lap, where an unmistakable bulge was forming. "Oh no," she whispered, frantically checking the vial. "No, no, no. What did you do?" Kyle demanded, shifting to hide the increasingly obvious evidence of her mistake. Her purple skin darkened to a deep violet, her species equivalent of a blush. "I may have given you the wrong serum," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "This was experimental, not the one I meant to use." "Fix it," Kyle hissed, clutching the sheet tighter. Za's hands flew to her head in panic. "I can't, it needs to metabolize naturally. If anyone finds out I administered an untested compound." Her eyes met his, filled with desperation. "No one can know. My career, my research, everything would be ruined." The door chime sounded, signaling an imminent visitor. "Hide it," Za whispered urgently. Kyle grabbed a datapad from the table, positioning it strategically over his lap just as the door slid open, revealing Captain Morgan, his direct superior. "Wilson, there you are," Morgan said, his eyes narrowing as he took in the scene. "Admiral, move the briefing up. We need you now. Everything all right?" Kyle forced a smile, gripping the datapad. "Just finishing up, sir." Morgan nodded, glancing at Za. "Make it quick, Doctor. The Krell situation won't wait." As the door closed, Kyle turned to Za, his voice low and dangerous. "You have 10 seconds to explain what's happening and how long this lasts." Za swallowed hard, her purple skin still flushed. "It's a stimulant meant for tissue regeneration in certain species. In humans, it seems to have other effects." She checked her scanner. "Based on your metabolism, 6 to 8 hours." 6 to 8 hours, Kyle's voice rose, then he caught himself, taking a deep breath. "I have a briefing about a potential alien invasion in 5 minutes." "I'm so sorry," Za whispered, her eyes glistening with remorse, then unexpectedly a small smile tugged at her lips. "Though I must say the serum seems effective." Kyle fought back a reluctant grin. "This isn't funny." "No, it's not," she agreed, though her turquoise eyes sparkled with suppressed amusement. "But I'll help you through this, we just need to keep it our secret." Kyle stood carefully, keeping the datapad in place. "Fine. But after this meeting, you and I are having a long talk about medical protocols." Za nodded, relief washing over her features. "I'll find a solution, I promise." "And Commander," she hesitated, her smile turning playful, "think about cold showers and tax regulations." Kyle shot her a glare that had made Space Marines flinch, but Za merely smiled back unfazed. Something told him this was going to be the longest day of his career. Kyle strode through the Horizon's corridors, datapad clutched strategically, his mind racing. Combat training had prepared him for plasma burns, vacuum exposure, even psychological torture, but nothing had equipped him for a high-level briefing while grappling with an unwanted, persistent arousal. His neural comm implant buzzed, and Zaw's melodic voice came through, startling him. Commander Wilson, I've established a private channel. I'll help you through this. How did you access my, Kyle began, but she cut him off. Standard protocol, she said smoothly. I'm researching solutions, the compounds affecting your hypothalamic pituitary axis causing elevated testosterone and vasodilation in specific areas. Kyle entered the turbolift, nodding stiffly at two passing officers. Skip the lecture, just fix it. Working on it, Zaw replied. Meanwhile, try focusing on something else. The lift opened onto the command deck, where Admiral Harrington and 5 senior officers stood around a holographic display. Captain Morgan motioned Kyle over. Wilson, glad you could join us. We're discussing Krell fleet movements near Arcturus. Kyle slid into a chair, positioning the datapad to conceal his condition. Sorry for the delay, sir. The Krell have 3 battle cruisers here, Harrington said, highlighting a star system. Intelligence suggests a major offensive. Zaw's voice piped up in his ear. Your vitals are still elevated. Try to focus on something neutral. I'm trying, Kyle subvocalized, studying the display with forced concentration. Commander Wilson, Harrington's sharp voice cut through. Your assessment? Kyle straightened, grateful for the table's cover. The Krell are likely staging for an attack on Vega Prime. Their formation suggests a pincer movement. He pointed to the display. We should reinforce the quantum barrier array here and here to counter their advance. There are 3 ways to metabolize the compound quickly, Zaw interrupted, oblivious to his predicament. The first is extended cardiovascular exercise, Kyle faltered mid-sentence, which would allow them to flank our defensive line, prompting Harrington's frown. The second option, Zaw continued, involves oral enzymatic transfer from a compatible donor. Kyle nearly choked. Excuse me. He subvocalized. Something to add, Commander? Harrington asked, raising an eyebrow. No, sir, just considering alternatives, Kyle recovered, ignoring Lieutenant Patel's curious glance. The third option, Zaw's voice dropped to a sultry tone, is traditional reproductive activity. The hormonal release would neutralize the compound almost immediately. That's not happening, Kyle hissed through gritted teeth. What's not happening, Commander? Harrington demanded. The Krell breakthrough, sir, Kyle said smoothly. Not on my watch, Harrington studied him, then nodded. Good, I'm putting you in charge of the counteroffensive. For the next 20 minutes, Kyle focused on the tactical discussion while Zaw offered increasingly suggestive updates. By the meeting's end, his uniform was damp with sweat. Wilson, stay behind, Harrington ordered as the others left. Kyle froze. Sir, you seem distracted. Is there something I should know? Just a minor medical issue, sir, Kyle said, wincing at his word choice. It won't affect my performance. Harrington's eyes narrowed. See that it doesn't. The mission launches in 6 hours. I need you at 100%. Understood, sir. As Kyle left, Zaw's voice returned. Meet me in Research Lab 3, Deck 12. It's private. We need to discuss your treatment options. This isn't funny, Kyle growled, stepping into the turbolift. I'm not laughing, Zaw replied, her tone serious, the compound showing unusual persistence. If we don't address it soon, there could be complications. What kind of complications? The kind that would require explaining to Dr. Niara why a human officer is in distress with an A-tower condition. Kyle sighed. Lab 3, Deck 12, 5 minutes. Research Lab 3 was a sterile, dimly lit space filled with humming equipment. Zaw stood waiting, her silver-white hair now in a practical knot, her purple skin catching the light in a way that made Kyle's already compromised focus waver. Her uniform still hugged her curves, unhelping his situation. I've analyzed your bioscan, she said, leading him inside. The compound's bonding with your adrenal system. We need to act quickly. So what are our real options? Kyle asked, locking the door. And don't say sex, oral stimulation, or exercise. Zaw's purple skin flushed violet, but her tone remained clinical. Those are the only methods to trigger the enzymatic cascade needed to break it down. Her turquoise eyes, flecked with gold, met his, the air between them charged. I could run laps, Kyle suggested, his voice rough. For 3 hours, Zaw stepped closer, her scent enveloping him. We don't have that time. This is unprofessional, he murmured, not moving away. So is injecting you with an untested compound, she countered, a smile playing at her lips. But here we are. Kyle noticed the intelligence in her eyes, the determination beneath her mistake. The Krell mission in 6 hours. I need to be ready, Zaw nodded, her fingers brushing his arm, sending a jolt through him. Then we should begin treatment immediately, Commander. Kyle hesitated, caught by the gold flecks in her eyes, the warmth of her presence. What had started as a medical mishap was becoming something far more complicated and intriguing. The officer's gym was empty, a rare stroke of luck. Kyle locked the door with his command override, ensuring privacy. I'll start with cardio, he said, heading for the treadmill. Zaw interrupted, her turquoise eyes flashing. Leave my patient unmonitored during an experimental treatment. That would be highly unprofessional, Commander. Her playful tone made him suspect she was enjoying this more than she let on. 20 minutes into his run, sweat soaked his shirt. Zaw sat on a mat, ostensibly reviewing her tablet, but Kyle caught her watching him. Any improvement? He asked, increasing the speed. Minimal, she said, shaking her head. Your metabolism's processing it, but not fast enough. She hesitated, then added, in my species, the Nari physical attraction accelerates metabolic processes. Kyle nearly stumbled. Is that relevant? Perhaps, she approached, her purple skin shimmering. Among the Nari, medical treatment often incorporates intimate energy exchange. Sounds convenient, Kyle said dryly, though her proximity wasn't helping his focus. The intercom crackled. Attention all personnel. Security alert, possible Krell infiltrator in Sector 7, all officers to security stations. Kyle shut off the treadmill. That's 2 decks below us. Zaw's voice trembled. The Krell, they're shapeshifters, aren't they? They can't perfectly mimic biosignatures, Kyle said, grabbing a pulse pistol from a locker. Stay behind me. A thud echoed from the corridor, followed by dragging sounds. Zaw whispered, they detect body heat and physiological responses. Her eyes flicked downward meaningfully. Kyle grimaced. His condition could attract the enemy. Perfect. Zaw's hand brushed his arm. There's still the third option, she said softly, her eyes locking onto his, the air electrified, her purple skin glowing faintly. Intense emotional states can mask biosignatures from Krell sensors, fear or passion. Another thud closer. Kyle holstered his weapon, pulling Zaw against him. For tactical reasons, he said, his voice rough. Of course, she agreed, her smile teasing, purely tactical. Their lips met and Kyle expected something alien. Instead, her warmth and eagerness sent a surge through him unrelated to the serum. Her cool purple skin contrasted with her heated kiss, her hands threading through his hair. Kyle lifted her slightly, their bodies aligning, her humanoid form thrillingly different yet familiar. Your heart rate's increasing, Zaw murmured against his lips. The compound's metabolizing. Your professional assessment? Kyle teased, kissing along her jaw. Very professional, she sighed, tilting her head. But I should conduct a thorough examination. The sounds outside ceased, but neither noticed. They sank onto the exercise mats, uniforms yielding to eager fingers. Zaw's purple skin glowed with luminescent patterns that intensified with her arousal, guiding Kyle's touch. What began as medical necessity became a profound connection, transcending species and circumstance. Later on the mats, Kyle traced her fatting patterns. Treatment successful, doctor. Zaw propped herself up, scanning him with a mock clinical eye. The compound nearly metabolized. Your conditions resolved. Just then his communicator chirped. Wilson to security, update on the Krell infiltrator. False alarm, Commander, came the reply. Maintenance droid malfunction, all clear. Kyle laughed, the tension breaking. So much for tactical necessity. Zaw's smile was mischievous. Better safe than sorry. As they dressed, Kyle felt reluctant to return to duty, to the Krell mission, to a reality where he was a human officer and she an alien researcher. Zaw, he began, unsure of his words. She pressed a finger to his lips. This was unexpected but not unwelcome and perhaps repeatable. His communicator chirped again. Commander Wilson, report to mission prep immediately. Krell fleet movement accelerated. Duty called. I have to go, Kyle said, straightening his uniform. Be careful, Zaw said, her eyes warm. And if you need more treatments, you know where to find me. With a grin, Kyle stepped into the corridor, ready for the Krell but eager to return to the purple-skinned doctor who turned his world upside down. The Horizon's launch bay buzzed with pre-mission chaos, a symphony of clanging metal and shouted orders as 6 sleek interceptors stood primed for the assault on the Krell fleet. Lieutenant Commander Kyle Wilson reviewed tactical plans with his strike team, his steel gray eyes scanning holographic displays. At 34, his 62 frame exuded the calm authority of a seasoned officer, though the scars on his knuckles and faint crow's feet hinted at the toll of 3 interstellar conflicts. His mind, however, kept drifting to Zaw, the Nari medical researcher with vibrant purple skin and luminous turquoise eyes. The memory of her cool touch, the glowing patterns on her skin, and their unexpected intimacy in the gym lingered, a distraction he couldn't afford with the Krell threat looming. Commander, the targeting parameters, Lieutenant Patel prompted, pulling Kyle back to the present. Right, Kyle said, pointing to the holo display. We'll approach from the dark side of Arcturus 4's moon. The electromagnetic field should mask our signatures until we're within strike range. As the briefing wrapped, Dr. Niara, the Horizon's grizzled Centurion chief medical officer, entered the bay, his 4 eyes narrowed, fixing on Kyle. Commander Wilson, a word before your departure. Kyle nodded to his team and stepped aside with Niara. What is it, Doctor? I'm on a tight schedule. My assistant Zaw performed an unauthorized procedure on you, Niara rumbled, his mandibles clicking. I've reviewed the logs. Kyle's stomach tightened, but he kept his tone neutral. It was a minor treatment for a training injury. The serum was experimental, not approved for humans, Niara said, his upper eyes blinking in concern. More importantly, do you understand what it means that she used a Nari bonding catalyst? Bonding catalyst, Kyle repeated, his voice steady despite the alarm bells in his head. Among the Nari, it's used in mating rituals, Niara explained. Followed by intimate contact, it creates a permanent neurochemical bond akin to human marriage but more binding. Kyle struggled to maintain composure. I wasn't aware of that. Few non-Nari are, Niara said, leaning closer. Their practices are private. If you and Zaw engaged in intimate contact after the injection, you may have inadvertently formed a life bond. Before Kyle could respond, the mission alert sounded. I have to go, he said, mind reeling. We'll discuss this upon your return, Niara said, his lower eyes narrowing. But be aware, Nari bonds have side effects, especially under stress. With that cryptic warning, Kyle boarded his interceptor, his thoughts a tangle of duty and the unexpected connection with Zaw. The 6 Alliance fighters launched into the starlit void, accelerating toward the Arcturus system. Kyle led the formation, pushing personal concerns aside. Strike team, maintain radio discipline, he ordered. Weapons hot only on my command. As they neared the moon's dark side, a strange tingling prickled at the base of Kyle's skull. A flash of turquoise crossed his vision, followed by a wave of emotion, concern, affection, something deeper that wasn't his own. Zah, he thought, startled. Kyle, her voice echoed in his mind, clear as if she were beside him. I can sense you, what's happening? He projected a thought, amazed at its ease. The bond, you didn't mention this. Her embarrassment washed through him. I didn't know. The catalyst wasn't meant for humans. I thought it was regenerative serum. Commander, we're approaching the engagement zone, Lieutenant Patel's voice crackled over the comm. Copy, Kyle responded, then returned to Zah. We'll talk later, I need to focus. Wait, her mental voice was urgent. I sense something through our bond, your perceptions are enhanced, look starboard beyond the moon's shadow. Acting on instinct, Kyle adjusted his sensors to coordinates that appeared in his mind. The scanner revealed 3 cloaked Krell vessels lying in wait, an ambush his team would have missed. Strike team, new targets, he barked. 3 cloaked Krell ships at 227 Mark 43, evasive maneuvers now. His team broke formation as energy torpedoes streaked through their previous position. How did you know? Kyle projected to Zah, banking his fighter into an attack run. I didn't, you did, she replied. The bond lets me access your tactical instincts and you access my Nari sensory perception. We detect energy patterns humans can't. The battle erupted, Alliance fighters engaging the now exposed Krell ships. Through the bond, Kyle anticipated enemy movements with uncanny precision, energy buildups before weapons fired, course changes before they happened. This is incredible, he thought, disabling a Krell cruiser's propulsion with a perfect shot. It's how Nari mates function in crisis, Zah explained, pride flowing through their link. The bond makes us stronger together. As the skirmish intensified, Zah's presence in his mind grew, her emotions intertwining with his fear for his safety, determination, and a warmth that made his heart race. The Krell, outmaneuvered thanks to Kyle's enhanced awareness, began retreating. Then a torpedo clipped Kyle's fighter, sending it spinning toward the moon's surface. Commander hit, Patel shouted over the comm. Kyle wrestled the controls, warning lights flashing. Zah's panic spiked through the bond. Kyle, stay with me. I'm trying, he projected, switching to auxiliary power. As his fighter plummeted, he felt Zah's life force surge through him, steadying his hands, sharpening his focus. With seconds to spare, he engaged backup systems, landing roughly on the moon's dusty plain. Commander Wilson to strike team, he radioed, breathing hard. I'm down but intact, complete the mission. As his team pursued the Krell, Kyle sat back, overwhelmed. He and Zah were bonded, not just physically, but on a fundamental level. It had saved his life. Kyle, Zah's mental voice was tentative. Are you all right? Yes, he replied, warmth filling him at her concern. Thanks to you. Rescue shuttle on its way, she assured him. I'll be waiting. Watching the stars through his cracked viewport, Kyle realized an embarrassing medical mishap had forged a connection that transcended species and had proven its worth in battle. The Horizon's landing bay was alive with cheers as Kyle's team returned, their detection of the Krell ambush yielding critical intelligence on enemy stealth tech. Kyle emerged from the shuttle, unsteady from the crash, and felt Zah's presence before seeing her. Her purple skin, almost pale with worry, glowed faintly under the bay's lights, her silver-white hair loose around her shoulders. You're back, her thoughts reached him, relief flooding their bond. He met her turquoise eyes, the gold flecks catching the light. We need to talk, he projected, the mental communication now second nature. Before they could speak, Admiral Harrington intercepted him. Outstanding work, Commander. You detected cloaked Krell vessels. Care to explain how? Kyle hesitated. A hunch, sir. Something felt off about the approach vector. Harrington's expression suggested skepticism. Report to my office once medical clears you. Dr. Niara approached, his 4 eyes narrowing. Commander, scans show elevated neural activity consistent with a Nari bond. Kyle glanced at the bustling bay. Let's discuss this privately. Privacy may be a luxury, Niara said gravely. The Nari vessel Luminous Tide has altered course to rendezvous with us in 6 hours. Zah's shock pulsed through the bond. The High Council sent a diplomatic vessel. Why? Because, Niara rumbled, unauthorized bonding with a non-Nari, especially an Alliance officer, is a cultural concern. I felt the situation's weight. What began as a medical mishap, then an intimate connection, was now a diplomatic incident. In the medical bay, Zah paced, her purple skin shimmering with agitation while Niara conducted scans. The bond is unusually strong for one so new, Niara observed. Typically, Nari bonds take weeks to reach this level. Is that bad? Kyle asked, watching Zah's restless movements. Not bad, just unprecedented, Niara said, his upper eyes blinking in surprise. It suggests exceptional compatibility. Zah stopped pecking. The Luminous Tide carries the bonding council. They'll demand I return to Neria for purification rituals. Purification? Kyle's voice sharpened, a chill running through him. They'll try to sever our bond, Zah explained, distress coloring her thoughts. It's not pleasant. Few survive with their minds intact. Kyle moved to her side, protective anger surging. That's not happening. Niara clicked his mandibles. The Alliance can't interfere with Nari cultural practices. Their Galactic Council membership grants autonomy. So I let them take her, Kyle demanded, his hand on Zah's shoulder, her cool touch grounding him. There might be another way, Zah said, her turquoise eyes meeting his. Before she could elaborate, Kyle's communicator chirped. Commander Wilson, report to Admiral Harrington immediately. Harrington's office was stark, with only a few Earth mementos. The Admiral stood at the viewport, hands clasped. Commander, care to explain why the Nari High Council demands the return of a citizen who's formed an inappropriate bond with you? Kyle stood at attention. Sir, an accidental administration of a Nari bonding catalyst occurred. Neither of us knew the consequences. Harrington turned, his weathered face unreadable. And this catalyst explains your ability to detect cloaked Krell ships. It appears to grant perceptual advantages, sir, Kyle admitted. Harrington's eyebrows rose. Advantages we'd lose if the Nari perform their purification ritual. Yes, sir, Kyle said, feeling Zaw's life and sanity at stake. It's likely catastrophic for her, the Admiral sighed. The Alliance needs every edge against the Krell, but I can't defy a Galactic Council member's cultural practices. He paused, a ghost of a smile appearing. However, the Nari recognize exemptions including the trial of shared valor, an ancient ritual where bonded pairs prove their worth through combat. Victory grants cultural recognition regardless of species. Hope flared through the bond, Zaw's excitement mirroring Kyle's. Would they honor it, sir? They'd have to, Harrington said. It's in their Galactic Council agreement, but the trial is dangerous, potentially fatal. With respect, sir, so is their purification ritual, Kyle said, at least for Zaw. Harrington studied him. You care for her. Kyle felt Zaw's presence, her essence intertwined with his. Yes, sir, more than I expected in so short a time. Not just the bond, Harrington pressed. Kyle considered the warmth of her smile, the intelligence in her eyes. Not just the bond, sir. Very well, Harrington said. When the luminous tide arrives, invoke the trial. I'll ensure Alliance Legal is present. Thank you, sir. One more thing, Harrington added. The Krell fleet is regrouping. If you survive, I expect those enhanced abilities at the Alliance's disposal. Always, sir. Back in the medical bay, Zaw waited, her purple skin glowing softly. Their eyes met, understanding flowing through the bond. The trial of shared valor, she whispered, awe in her voice. It hasn't been invoked in generations. Will it work? Kyle asked, taking her hands. If we succeed, the bond will be recognized, she said, her turquoise eyes searching his. But the trial tests physical prowess and the bond's strength. It's meant to push us to our limits. After today, a little ritual combat sounds almost relaxing, Kyle said, squeezing her hands. Her laugh sent warmth through their connection. You humans and your confidence, it's terrifying and appealing. As they prepared for the luminous tide's arrival, Kyle felt their bond deepen. The medical mishap had forged something profound, and he'd fight to protect it. The luminous tide docked, its iridescent hull pulsing like a living creature. In the Horizon's reception area, Kyle stood beside Admiral Harrington, maintaining a stoic facade despite the tension in his gut. Dr. Niara served as liaison. The airlock opened, revealing three Nari officials, their elongated limbs and exaggerated features starkly alien compared to Zaw's humanoid form. Their purple skin displayed shifting patterns, signaling rank and lineage. The one in the center is High Elder Thalion, Zaw's thoughts explained, tinged with awe and fear. The others are bonding council members. High Elder Thalion approached, his turquoise eyes like Zaw's but ancient, fixing on Kyle. I am Thalion of the Seventh Tide, he announced, his voice melodic yet formal. We seek the unauthorized bond pair. Harrington stepped forward. Admiral James Harrington, Horizon, Commander Wilson intends to invoke the trial of shared valor. A ripple of surprise flashed through the Nari's skin patterns. The trial hasn't been invoked in 7 generations, Thalion said. It's a relic of a primitive time. Yet recognized in your protocols and Galactic Council agreement, Harrington countered. Thalion's gaze shifted to Zaw, who stood beside Kyle, head high despite her fear. Bring forth the female, we must examine the bond. Kyle's protective instinct surged, but Zaw's calming presence steadied him. It's expected, she thought. The Nari surrounded her, their hands hovering near her head, their patterns pulsing in unison. They jerked back, patterns flaring brilliantly. What is it? Kyle asked, both aloud and through the bond. They say our bond is impossible, Zaw replied, her mental voice trembling. Unlike anything in their records, Thalion turned to Kyle. Human approach. Kyle stepped forward and the Nari repeated the examination. They recoiled again. The resonance of duality, Thalion whispered. It cannot be. Niara moved closer. High Elder, what have you found? A myth, Thalion said, his patterns pulsing contemplatively. Ancient texts speak of bonds beyond our kind, of extraordinary power from before the Great Sundering. The Krell, a council member said. They were there at the Sundering, Thalion nodded. The ancient enemy thought vanquished, now returned. Harrington interjected. Are you suggesting a connection between Commander Wilson's bond and your conflict with the Krell? Not a connection, Thalion said. A solution. He turned to Kyle and Zaw. The prophecies speak of a resonance returning, a Nari bonded with a species of complementary neural patterns, creating lost abilities. Kyle felt Zaw's shock transform into understanding. The enhanced perception in battle, she thought. That was just the beginning. What abilities? Kyle asked aloud. In the ancient war, Thalion explained, bonded pairs synchronized consciousness, detecting and disrupting Krell stealth tech across vast distances. It drove them into retreat. Harrington's eyes gleamed with strategic interest. You believe they possess this potential? Yes, Thalion confirmed. The neural patterns are unmistakable, but to awaken the resonance requires the ritual of completion, a sacred ceremony harmonizing the bond. Zaw's embarrassment flowed through the bond. It's a ritual of physical union, she explained privately, like what we shared but with protocols. Kyle fought a flush. And this ritual would let us counter the Krell fleet. Not just counter, Thalion said. A realized resonance could disrupt their hive mind. Harrington straightened. The Krell are preparing a major offensive. This could give us an advantage. Thalion's patterns shifted approvingly. The trial is unnecessary. This bond transcends our protocols. To Za, he said, "Child of the fifth tide, you fulfilled a sacred prophecy." Relief washed through their bond, but Za's concern lingered. "High Elder, the bond was accidental. We didn't seek this." "Few who change history do so intentionally," Thalion replied gently. "The question is what you do now." Kyle intertwined his fingers with Za's, their bond humming. "We'll do whatever it takes to stop the Krell. The ritual must be at the bond's nexus," Thalion said, "the gym." Kyle blurted, Za's amusement bubbling through their connection. "The medical bay," she corrected, smiling, "where the serum was administered." As preparations began, Kyle pulled Za aside. "Are you sure this is moving fast?" Her cool hand touched his cheek, affection rippling through their bond. "A day ago I was a researcher who made a terrible mistake. Now we're a prophecy's fulfillment, but this," she gestured between them, "feels right." Kyle leaned into her touch, marveling at how essential she'd become. "Together then," he said, sealing it with a kiss that sent golden light through their shared consciousness. Medical Bay 7 aboard the Galactic Alliance Starship Horizon had been transformed into a sacred space, its sterile walls now adorned with bioluminescent crystals from the Nari vessel Luminous Tide. The crystals pulsed with a soft turquoise glow, casting intricate patterns across the room that seemed to dance in rhythm with the air itself. The examination table where Lieutenant Commander Carl Wilson had received the accidental bonding catalyst was draped in shimmering Nari fabric, rippling like liquid under touch. Kyle stood at the room's center, his 62 frame clad in a ceremonial Nari robe that left his chest bare, revealing scars from past battles. Luminescent ink traced intricate designs across his tan skin, mirroring the natural patterns of Nari bonding. His steel gray eyes, framed by faint crow's feet, held a mix of determination and apprehension as he prepared for the ritual of completion. High Elder Thalion, his elongated limbs and shifting purple skin patterns radiating authority, applied the final symbols to Kyle's forehead. "These markings channel the resonance's energy," he explained, his melodic voice resonating with reverence. "They align your neural patterns with Za's." Za entered, her vibrant purple skin glowing under the crystal light, her silver-white hair cascading in loose waves. Her ceremonial garb, a flowing garment that clung to her curves, was adorned with swirling patterns that complemented Kyle's markings. Her turquoise eyes, flecked with gold, met his, and their bond hummed with anticipation, a shared understanding of the monumental task ahead. The weight of prophecy, the Krell threat, and their unexpected connection pressed heavily on them both. Admiral Harrington approached, his weathered face grave. "Commander, there's something you should know before proceeding. The ancient Nari texts contain a warning about the resonance." Kyle felt Za's attention sharpen through their bond. "What warning?" he asked, his deep voice steady despite the tension coiling in his gut. "Using the resonance to disrupt the Krell hive mind could burn it out permanently," Harrington said. "Your neural pathways might collapse under the strain." "Meaning we'd lose our bond," Kyle said, the realization hitting like a plasma blast. He glanced at Za, feeling her concern mirror his own. "Or worse," Thalion added, his skin patterns shifting to an unreadable cadence. "In ancient accounts, some bonded pairs did not survive the disruption. The neural shock was catastrophic." Kyle's hand found Za's, their fingers intertwining instinctively. "Why didn't you tell us this before?" "We needed you to commit to the ritual," Thalion admitted, his voice heavy. "The resonance must be fully established to be effective against the Krell. We feared you'd hesitate if you knew the cost." "Of course we'd hesitate," Za's mental voice flared with indignation, though her outward composure held. "You're asking us to risk our bond, possibly our lives." Harrington's expression softened. "We're asking you to consider it. The Krell fleet will reach the Arcturus colony in 12 hours. Millions of lives are at stake." Kyle felt the weight of duty, his training as an Alliance officer screaming to prioritize the mission. Yet losing Za, losing their bond, felt like severing a part of his soul. Through their connection, he sensed her studying him, her turquoise eyes reading his thoughts as clearly as her own. "We don't have to do this," she offered privately. "We could leave, find somewhere beyond Alliance space." The temptation was stronger than Kyle expected, not because it was dishonorable, but because Za had become essential to him in ways he couldn't have imagined a day ago. "Leave us," he said aloud to Harrington and Thalion. "We need to discuss this privately." When they were alone, Kyle faced Za, their hands still joined. "What do you think?" he asked, his voice echoing through their bond. "I think an awkward bulge under a medical sheet led to the most important connection of my life," she replied, her mental voice tinged with humor and sadness. "And I don't want to lose it." "Neither do I," Kyle admitted, his thumb brushing her cool purple skin. "But those people, there's something else," Za interrupted, her eyes lighting with inspiration. "I sensed it in Thalion's thoughts during the preparation. The texts don't just speak of disruption, they mention transformation." Transformation. Kyle's brow furrowed. "The resonance doesn't have to destroy the Krell hive mind," she explained, excitement flowing through their bond. "It could reconfigure it, introduce individual choice. We could modulate the disruption, find a third option." Kyle felt a spark of hope, like recalibrating a pulse weapon to stun rather than kill. "That's risky. We'd be improvising with tech we barely understand." "When has that stopped humans?" Za's lips curved into a smile that sent warmth cascading through their connection. "Your species faces impossible odds with impossible solutions. It's what you do best." Kyle's grin matched hers. "Humanity, fuck yeah, precisely," she agreed, her mental voice warm with affection. They summoned Thalion and Harrington, outlining their proposal. Thalion's skin patterns shifted skeptically. "What you suggest has never been attempted. The risk remains substantial." But if it works, Harrington interjected, we could neutralize the Krell without sacrificing your bond. Deed Kyle with respect. It's worth trying, Commander. With their decision made, the ritual began. The Nari officials guided Kyle and Za through ancient chants, their voices rising and falling in a melodic cadence that seemed to vibrate the very air. The crystals pulsed brighter, their light syncing with the markings on Kyle and Za's skin. As the ritual reached its climax, they stood at the room's center, hands joined, foreheads touching. The symbols on their skin glowed intensely, pulsing with their heartbeats. Now, Thalion instructed, complete the bond. Their lips met in a kiss that transcended physical sensation. Kyle felt himself falling into Za, their consciousness merging in a way that defied description. The barriers between them dissolved, creating a unified awareness that expanded beyond the medical bay, beyond the horizon, reaching across the stars. In this state, they sensed the Krell fleet, a vast, interconnected consciousness moving like a predatory swarm. They could feel the neural pathways linking individual Krell to their hive mind, the frequencies coordinating their attacks. Now, Za's thoughts merged with his. We modify the disruption pattern. Together, they visualized the alteration, not a destructive pulse to shatter the hive mind, but a reconfiguration to introduce individual choice. The effort was immense, pain lancing through their shared consciousness as their minds stretched to their limits. Kyle felt Za's determination bolstering him when he faltered. Stay with me, he projected, their bond straining under the pressure. Always, she replied, fierce and unwavering. With a final surge of shared will, they released the modified pattern. It spread like cosmic ripples, reaching the Krell fleet in seconds. The effect was immediate, not chaos, but awakening. The hive mind's rigid hierarchy dissolved, replaced by individual consciousnesses still connected but no longer enslaved. As the transformation spread, Kyle and Za felt their bond shift, not burning out but deepening, becoming less overwhelming yet more intimate, less supernatural but more profound. They returned to normal awareness, still standing in Medical Bay 7, foreheads pressed together, hands intertwined. The luminescent patterns on their skin had faded to faint, scar-like traces like tattoos of their bond. What happened? Harrington demanded, stepping forward. Sensors show the Krell fleet halted its advance. We reconfigured their hive mind, Kyle explained, his voice hoarse. They're individuals now choosing not to attack. Za added, her mental presence a gentle hum in Kyle's mind. Their first choice was to stand down. Thalion's skin patterns pulsed with astonishment. You've done what our ancestors could not. They sought to defeat the Krell, you've transformed them. And your bond? Harrington asked, studying them closely. Kyle looked at Za, feeling her steady presence alongside his own. Changed but not gone, we found a third option. Humans, Thalion said, his tone caught between exasperation and admiration, always rewriting what's possible. 3 months later, Kyle stood at the viewport of the newly commissioned Alliance Nari vessel resonance, watching stars streak by. As first officer under Captain Harrington, he coordinated a diplomatic mission to the transformed Krell, now navigating their newfound individuality. His bond with Za, no longer overwhelming, was a constant comfort, a gentle awareness of her presence. He felt her before she entered the observation deck, her purple skin catching the starlight, her silver-white hair pulled into a practical knot. Thinking about how it all started, she asked, standing beside him, her turquoise eyes sparkling. Kyle smiled, pulling her close. Hard to believe a medical mishap led to interspecies peace. Za's fingers traced the faint markings on his forearm, remnants of the ritual, and to think all because I grabbed the wrong vial. Kyle raised an eyebrow, his voice teasing. Did you really mix up those serums by accident? Her turquoise eyes widened in mock innocence. Are you suggesting I caused a diplomatic incident, risked my career, and nearly lost my mind just to get your attention? When you put it that way, it sounds ridiculous, he admitted, chuckling. Completely ridiculous, she agreed, rising on her toes to kiss him. The familiar warmth of their bond pulsed between them, no longer a cosmic force but a quiet, enduring connection. Their lips parted, and Kyle felt a flicker of curiosity through their link. What's next for us? He asked, both aloud and mentally. Za's smile was both mischievous and tender. The Krell are negotiating peace, the Alliance is rewriting its xenobiology protocols, and the Nari are revising their bonding laws. We've changed the galaxy, Kyle. And us, he pressed, his hand resting on her waist, feeling the coolness of her purple skin through her uniform. We keep exploring this, she said, her mental voice warm with affection. A human commander and a Nari researcher bonded by accident, united by choice. Kyle's grin widened. Sounds like a hell of a mission. The best kind, she replied, her turquoise eyes gleaming. And if you need another treatment for old time's sake, her voice trailed off, playful, he laughed, pulling her closer. Only if it's medically necessary, doctor. Their kiss deepened, the bond humming softly, a testament to a connection forged in crisis, tempered by sacrifice and sustained by love. Beyond the viewport, the stars stretched endlessly, a canvas for their shared future. The Resonance's diplomatic chamber was a blend of Alliance steel and Nari bioluminescence, a fitting setting for the historic talks with the Krell. Kyle stood at Harrington's side, his uniform crisp, the faint ritual markings on his skin hidden beneath his sleeves. Za, now a lead xenobiology consultant, stood opposite, her purple skin radiant under the chamber's glow, her silver-white hair braided with crystalline threads. The Krell delegation, their once uniform forms now displaying subtle variations, sat across a hollow table, their newly individual voices a chorus of cautious hope. Commander Wilson, the lead Krell, a shimmering figure named Vaxer, said through a translator, "Your actions disrupted our unity yet granted us freedom. We seek to understand this individuality." Kyle felt Zaw's pride through their bond. "It's a process," he replied. "Freedom means choice, and choice means learning who you are apart from the whole." Vaxer's form pulsed, a gesture Kyle recognized as contemplation. "And your bond with the Nari, how does it function?" Zaw stepped forward, her voice melodic. "It's a partnership built on mutual trust and amplified by our connection. It taught us to see beyond species to find strength in difference." Harrington nodded approvingly. The alliance proposes a cooperative framework: trade, technology exchange, and mutual defense. The Krell's transformation opens new possibilities. As negotiations progressed, Kyle and Zaw worked in tandem, their bond allowing seamless coordination. Kyle's tactical instincts, honed by years of combat, complemented Zaw's enhanced sensory perception, making them a formidable team. When a Krell delegate raised concerns about alliance intentions, Kyle felt Zaw's mental nudge, guiding him to a diplomatic response that eased tensions. Later, in their shared quarters, Kyle and Zaw stood before a viewport, the Arcturus colony visible in the distance, its lights a beacon of the lives they'd saved. "We did this," Zaw said, her hand in his, her purple skin warm from their closeness. "We're still doing it," Kyle corrected, his thumb brushing her knuckles. "The Krell talks, the Alliance Nari Alliance, it's just the beginning." Zaw's turquoise eyes sparkled. "And us, what's our next beginning?" Kyle pulled her close, feeling their bond pulse softly. "We keep rewriting the rules together." Her laugh was a melody, her mental presence wrapping around him like a second skin. "For a human, you're remarkably adaptable. For a Nari, you're pretty reckless," he teased, kissing her forehead. "Grabbing the wrong serum and all." Her mock indignation sent ripples of amusement through their bond. "That serum saved the galaxy, I'll have you know. And landed me with you," Kyle added, his voice softening. "Best mistake I've ever survived." As they stood together, the stars beyond their viewport seemed to pulse in time with their bond, a quiet, enduring connection that had transformed not just their lives but the galaxy itself. From an awkward medical mishap to a prophecy fulfilled, Kyle and Zaw had found something rare. A love that transcended species, a partnership that defied odds, and a future they'd shaped together, one star at a time.